The over-under for commits after Alabama's big cookout this weekend is going to be 1.5. Which way do you think it'll go?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. And Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. Thank you every day for making us your first listen or second listen or third listen. We don't care. Just listen and watch. We appreciate you guys so much. And also want to thank FanDuel and Gametime for being sponsors. Today is Gametime. I just threw out FanDuel because I'm nice. But Gametime is who is sponsoring today, and we appreciate them so much. Jimmy, big cookout this weekend in Tuscaloosa. There's a lot going on in other places. I know Auburn's got their Big Cat weekend. I think there's something going on in Georgia. Justice Terry apparently will be at that and won't be up Alabama, which is a shame. But, I mean, you could sort of see that coming. And, you know, I'm looking at everything here. I'm putting the over-under at commits for Alabama after this weekend within a reasonable amount of time, let's say 4 to 7 days, at 1.5. Do you think I'm being optimistic?
No, I think that's a real reasonable guess. I think there's a difference. I think people should realize there's a difference between a commitment that we all know about in the public versus a commitment that a kid might make privately to the staff. I would feel like in terms of silent or private commitments and that sort of thing, I would probably lean to go over on the public commitments, maybe under, but in terms of at BOL, what we've predicted to happen or guys that we, have currently predicted Alabama would be AK Deer. I mean, so that's one. And we feel like that's going to happen in July. So, that's what we're looking for in terms of outright commitments by others, whether they're 25 guys or 26 guys or even 27 guys. We're not expecting that. I mean, we're not like, hey, be on commitment watch, for this guy, that, but it could definitely happen because really what this has turned into, Luke, and this is the fascinating part of this to me, is the cookout has sort of turned into the 25 guys that will be there will be the committed kid, the commitments, and maybe one or two that they would like to add at most. The real recruiting in terms of trying to get kids committed are all 2026 and 2027 guys, primarily 26. And that's what's going to happen really at the cookout. And of course, the hope is that the committed 25 kids will be the ones doing the real sales job to the 26 kids. Just know this, that kids at this cookout generally are high priority guys. These aren't guys that they're doing a lot of evaluating on. These are guys that they want to have, in the group. So that's one thing for everyone to know. These are the high priority guys. They would like to get commitments from virtually every one of them there. But with the 26 and even 20, there's a handful of 27 guys too that we think will be there. I know we've reported at BOL the linebacker from Moody, Willis. He's a really good 27 guy. And Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, and Tim Watts put together the list that we have at BOL. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of phone calls to make that list happen. So y'all check out the full list over there.
Yeah, I can't imagine because these kids are inundated with, Auburn's having their thing, Bama's having their thing, Georgia's having a thing, and the kids are getting called like, are you coming to ours? You coming to theirs? You coming to ours? You coming to theirs? And there's some guys like Caleb Cunningham who apparently will be going to both, which will cause some hand wringing, I'm sure, on the Alabama side. But let me just run down a few of the guys that'll be there for the Tide side. Keelan Russell, Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham, Dijon Lee, Derek Smith. Of course, Derek Smith should be at Auburn too. Again, that will also gives us some anxious moments. Chuck McDonald, Dawson Merritt, Jaden Harmon, Micah DeBose, Luke Metz, Mal Wadrop, London Simmons. Holy cow. That's really a lot of your dudes that are committed to you. And when you've got Keelan Russell, who is sort of the Pied Piper of the class, that helps a ton. Underclassmen, you got Tank Jones from down there at St. Paul's Episcopal, the number 1 player in the state for next year. Jackson Cantwell, a 5-star offensive tackle. We talked about him a little bit yesterday, I believe. Zion Gibson from Gadsden City. Brandon Arrington, the number 1 athlete in the country for next year. Blaine Bradford from Louisiana, who is probably the top safety in the country for next year. Xavier Griffin, Ryder Lyons, another underclassman quarterback we talked about. Vodney Cleveland, who should be at Big Cat as well. He just transferred. I think he's going to transfer from Prattville to Parker. At least that was a rumor. I don't know if that's actually happening. I know that was a rumor. Apparently he's at Prattville now. That's where
Parker's been on a roll with prospects. Geez.
Yeah, at least that was a rumor I heard. I mean, don't anybody go off of what I heard, but that's what Brian Mosley from a wide receiver from Carrollton, and Barack Willis, as you just mentioned. So that is one heck of a list, and that's not the entire list. I mean,
yeah, because here's what's coming. I mean, we haven't been able to release names, but stay tuned because BOL, we're going to be adding names all the way to and through Saturday. There could be some reporting on Saturday of surprise visitors. Because as Luke pointed out earlier, these kids are being pulled in 100 different directions. Some of the kids literally haven't made up their minds because this is the only weekend in July where you can do these kind of visits. This is it. Dead period starts again August 1st. So it's kind of this. Correct. At football, Alabama, and pretty much all the other college places. So it's kind of a one weekend to do this. And I think it's fair for fans to read into, hey, who's where? Because you only have one weekend. So you're only going to go where you're like super serious, right? And it is a big deal that the Alabama commits are visiting Auburn. The ones that may, like Caleb Cunningham and Derek Smith, doesn't mean that they're flipping to Auburn. It means they might. But we've told people that from minute number 1. It used to be this way. Now it's really this way in this new era of. So don't be mad or alarmed. It's just, hey, this is what recruiting looks like now. And hey, if you want to sign high-profile, good players, other schools want those kids too. If you don't like that, then you need to encourage Alabama to sign 2 and 3 stars that nobody else wants. But that wouldn't be a great way to go about this. You want the most highly recruited good players, and hey, everybody else wants them too. So anyway, just stay tuned. We're expecting not a specific name or so to throw out there, but we're expecting surprises, as in more kids that have been reported so far coming. We'll see about final decisions that are made. Again, this will lead up to and through.
Okay, Jimmy, we're going to get right back into your countdown here because it's time now to talk a little Justice Haynes and a little Germie Bernard, and those are 2 guys we are definitely excited about. But I got to tell you about Game Time. And look, the live read says I'm supposed to tell you about how much I love Major League Baseball, and you can use Game Time for Major League Baseball. And I have. I've used it to send my son to the World Series. And I'm telling you, when Arizona went a few years ago, it was great. Or last year, whenever it was, he did it. But I'm going to tell you instead how excited I am to use Game Time to get my Alabama-Wisconsin tickets. I'm already searching around. I'm already seeing some fantastic deals. I just hadn't jumped on one yet because I'm like, I see this thing change. It changes a good bit. And I'm going to wait just a little bit longer and see what I can get. I'm not necessarily worried about being on the Alabama side. I'm just looking for the best view. And that's what's great about Game Time is you can use the Game Time app to find your best view. And you're not only going to get the best price, you're going to get the best view, and the customer service is top notch. Absolutely love Game Time. Go download that app today. And the first time you use it, if you use code Locked On College, you get $20 off. So that's a big deal. I'm going to be buying 4 tickets to Alabama, Wisconsin through Game Time. That's a Luke Robinson stamp of approval guarantee, y'all. And that's going to happen. So go check out Gametime. You will love it. I use it all the time. I've used it for NBA, Major League Baseball, World Series, college football, college basketball, college baseball, NFL. I've used it for everything, man. Used it for concerts. It's fantastic. Gametime is the absolute best. And I just love seeing where I'm going to sit. And I love the fact that when I had one small issue many moons ago, they helped me out with their great customer service. And it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. And they still talked me through it and made it all so much easier. So that's what I love about Gametime. Go check them out. Use code Locked On College for $20 off your purchase. Download that Gametime app. You will not be sorry, yo. Also want to tell you about the Locked On Sports Today stream. If you have to turn down your volume with all that shouting that you get on like Fox or ESPN or whatever, or, the mad dog, it's in his name. He's mad. Why do you want to listen to people who are mad all the time? A free 24/7 sports streaming channel is brought to you now by Locked On Sports Today. You can get the biggest stories without all the screaming. Stream 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day, and you already knew that. So now we get to talk about Justice Haynes. And, the picture in the thumbnail that I'm using for him, I'm just going to put the thumbnail back up because I've already deleted the actual picture itself. They use it for the thumbnail, but where I have justice will be served. I mean, tell me why that isn't Mark Ingram. Tell me why that picture doesn't scream Mark Ingram to you. And,
that's the number partly, but no, he is a real similar player to Mark Ingram.
The body style. Yep. And I think the running style, hey, my feet are always churning style. I think Justice may be a hair faster.
Yes.
But now it's almost sacrilegious to compare people to Mark Ingram. People forget when you talk about the greatest running backs of the Saban era and things like that. You talk about, Derrick Henry, Trent Richardson, maybe even you put Yeldon in there. Some people have an affinity for Lacey or Najee Harris or whatever, Kenyon Drake. But Ingram started it all. And Ingram is the Sabanist bot of Saban bots. And he's up there with Jonathan Allen. I mean, if you ask me, those two are they are the pinnacle of Saban botness. And but if I'm comparing you to Mark Ingram, I feel like I'm giving you the ultimate compliment. And Justice Haynes has got a lot of that in him. And when you see him training, the videos, granted, we hadn't seen a ton of highlights because he hadn't had a lot of opportunity. But we have seen highlights of him training. And when you watch him train, you're like, that dude's a dude.
Yeah, Justice Haynes, we have him as the 11th best player on this football team, which is saying a lot considering Justice was such a not really an integral member of last year's team because of the depth at running back. But now he's sort of the show. It's the Jam and Justice show at running back, or the Justice and Jam show. I do have Justice one spot ahead of Jam Miller here in my roster ranking. But, some comps I like to make because I think it paints a picture for Alabama fans. Who is this guy like? And some comps are difficult. Some are a stretch. Luke already mentioned it. The comp with Mark Ingram's not a stretch at all here. He is so similar to Mark Ingram, which is just one heck of a compliment because you're talking about a Heisman Trophy winner and a first-round pick. And heck, I think that the New Orleans Saints all-time leading, rushing touchdown guy. Mark, so he had a stellar pro career on top of a Heisman winning college career. I think even Justice is so similar to Mark that off the field, they're gregarious personalities. You want to hear from them. They're gumps. They're both gumps. Mark Ingram's, as Luke said, he's the gumpiest. He's the mayor of Gumptown. Justice Haynes is on that track. He loves Alabama. He loves the program, loves to talk about it. He's going to be super popular with the fans. This is the year we'll hear a lot from Justice in the media. And the fans will fall in love with this guy because he always has a smile on his face, real good on TV. He'll be a good commercial guy. But the only guys that get to make commercials are the superstars, the star players. Hey, write it down right now. Justice is going to be a star player. This is not wish casting or hoping. I've seen enough. Between him playing in the games on the high school tape and what we hear from inside the walls, Justice Haynes is going to be a star football player at Alabama this fall. He'll be a huge part of things. If anything, I've underranked him here at 11. And again, that comp to Mark Ingram, sort of spot on, same size, same style of runner. If anything, Justice might be a little faster. So I think one thing we might be able to expect under Justice is a little different under Mark is there could be even more home runs. I mean, I think from 30, 40, 50 yards out, he's a threat to score. And he can really catch the ball. But Mark Ingram was good catching the ball too. But Justice has got really good hands for a running back. So expect a big all-conference type season. Just understand that he's going to be sharing the role at running back with Jam Miller, who we talked about yesterday, who's also a fantastic running back. So, boy, Alabama's running back room, considering you lost your top 2 guys from a year ago, Alabama's running back room in fantastic shape with the Justice and Jam show.
Yeah, and look, I don't mean this as a shot at the guys from last year at all, but it feels like they were in the position to play more because of seniority as much as anything. I mean, there were some little things that the younger guys didn't do, the picking up, which are very important things. But in terms of just being a running back, I probably would have taken my chances with young Jam or Justice Haynes. But you do have to factor in the picking up blitzes. All that stuff's very, very important, especially last year. When I mean, actually, now that I think about it, maybe it was less important last year because the snaps were so bad that maybe blitz pickup wasn't as big of an issue. They were coming back there anyway.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, I get kind of riled about it a little bit when people say, "Oh, they should have played not Jason Roydell." First of all, Jason McClellan's an Atlanta Falcon. And Roydell went in the portal, and another top 10 program said, we want this guy. So let's not pretend for 1 second they weren't good players, or they wouldn't be with the Falcons and Florida State right now. Secondly, Alabama's problems last fall in terms of why Alabama didn't win games, it wasn't because of Jason Roydell. They weren't the problem. They played well. They both were good. And for all the Roydell and for all the Jason and for all the Jam and Justice are better, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say in every game, some yards per carry, Jason Roydell were better. I mean, I agree Jason Roydell played because of seniority. I also think due to their seniority, they were just better primed to help the football team on a snap-to-snap basis while Justice and Jam continued to get ready for the future. Alabama's problem in 2023 was not playing the wrong running back. Alabama's problems in 2023 was they couldn't get the front block. They couldn't get the snap right. They had an inexperienced quarterback that wasn't always making the right decision and didn't always make the decision quickly enough, as young quarterbacks usually do. And the wide receiver core was so young, you were only really getting playmaking from 2 guys. So
but other
overall,
than that,
yeah, other than that, and by the way, the offense was still pretty good. It was still good, but the problem wasn't, they should have played the other backs. That was, but hey, Justice and Jam are ready to go now. Now they're the seniority. They're the oldest guys. They're the dudes that have been coached the most, that will be better, for instance, than Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley at picking up blitzes. But hey, after everybody sees Justice and Jam for a few snaps, I wouldn't be surprised if there are not some fans out there convinced that Daniel and Kevin aren't the guys they should be playing. That's just kind of how this works.
Y'all just give my main man Justice just a minute, please.
Oh yes,
just a minute, and you're going.
He ain't gonna be here long. He ain't gonna be here long either.
No,
he's only got. He's a 3 and done guy. If I've ever seen one, if he stays healthy.
All right, now maybe the most interesting guy on the list so far, because that's saying a lot too. Germie Bernard, you got him at number 10, and he showed out at 8A. I mean, I think he only had 3 catches, but all of them were pretty awesome. And I looked at his stats from Washington. He's a junior now. He spent 2 years with the Huskies. First year only had 7 catches. Second year, last year, had 34 catches. You're like, that's okay. You got to remember he had 2 first-round wide receivers, first-round picks on the roster with him.
Yeah. 3 NFL guys. 3
NFL guys. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Now, he's only got 4 total touchdowns in his career. Okay. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns last year. That needs to be discussed. He had 13 carries. Now, I mean, I'm sure it was like some kind of pass back or pass behind the line of scrimmage. I don't know what all of them were. Maybe some kind of jet sweep where they hand it behind the back or whatever. Regardless, he's got 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 13 carries for a Washington team that played in the national championship game and 34 receptions as the number 4 option. And then he comes to Alabama. Now, you can paint this one of 2 ways. You can say he dominated the spring game because Alabama didn't have a lot at the wide receiver position. Or you can say this dude's just a junior who knows the system very, very well, knew what to do, and capitalized on it. And I choose to believe the latter rather than the former. I choose to.
Well, we have Germie Bernard here, super high, 10th best player on the team. And Luke said maybe the most interesting guy in the countdown in the sense that, hey, he's number 10. And we have fans potentially listening to this show that are like, who is Germie Bernard? I mean, how can you have a guy number 10? I've never heard of him. Well, he's brand new, and he's from Washington, and he was here in the spring, came with the DeBoer staff. And look, the reason he's number 10 is he seems to be the clear wide receiver number 1. This is the go-to number 1 receiver on this team. And beyond that, and here's where I'll surprise people. I don't know how bold I'll be about this, but I have him 10 because I think there's a pretty decent chance, Luke, that he goes Jameson Williams style 1 year at Alabama and then off to maybe the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, that's why he's this high. I think he is potentially a player in the draft next April, no worse than day 2. And I like Jameson Williams as the comp here, not for the reason you think. It's not because he's the exact same. Oh, sorry about that.
Jimmy is moving, so he's got some issues with the Wi-Fi. You know, he's got to get adjusted to his Wi-Fi. It's like getting adjusted to a new offense.
I'm back.
Yeah, he's back.
I'm back if you'll have me.
Yeah. But anyway, you were talking about how Germie Bernard could. Yeah. Go ahead with Germie Bernard.
Well, I'm just saying he could be a first round pick next April. He could be a day 2 pick. He's just needed an opportunity. I think his story's a lot like Jameson Williams. He's just not a player exactly like Jameson Williams, but his story is like JMO, where he wasn't getting an opportunity where it was before, not because he wasn't good. It was because he had older, veteran, NFL-ready guys ahead of him on the depth chart, and that's what happened. That's why he didn't have more catches for more yards. In fact, he's got more catches for more yards than Jameson Williams did before Jameson got to Alabama. He's actually caught more balls for more yards than JMO. Now, is he as fast as Jameson? No. Is he as purely gifted as Jameson? Probably not. With Jameson, you're talking about what, the 12th pick in the draft? I'm not saying that's Germie's future. I'm just saying that he's got a story similar to Jameson Williams in getting to Alabama. And I think in terms of how impactful he may be, it could be a Jameson Williams level impact, because you're talking about a number 1 receiver on a team that's going to throw the ball quite a bit. So his numbers, I mean, we're talking about potentially a 1,000-yard guy here. That could happen. Obviously, he's going to share catches because Kobe Prentice is there, Kendrick Law's there. Ryan Williams is a guy we all want to see. So, but Germie is a guy to know. I mean, he's going to be a huge part of this football team. Could also be the kick returner, maybe even the punt returner. He might be the favorite to be that guy. So this is a dude that's going to wear a lot of the offense, Luke, and that's why we have him, even though he's brand new to this team, number 10 on the best players on the 2024 Alabama football team.
I'm not saying he's the most important person to stay healthy all year, but I'm going to put him in the top 5 because of his familiarity with the offense, because of his experience. I'm going to say of all the, if you rank people who needs to stay healthy, I mean, Jalen Milroe certainly going to be up there. Tyler Booker is certainly going to be up there. Deontay Lawson will certainly be up there. But Germie Bernard's in the discussion.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, he's critical. He's absolutely critical. I mean, if he wasn't there, wide receiver 1 is Kobe Prentice. Good player.
Yeah.
It could be Kendrick Law. He hadn't caught a lot of balls.
Could be Ryan Williams. It's a Ryan Williams podcast. Jimmy just contracted COVID in the last 5 seconds, and I think he's over it now.
I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to get over it.
But I do appreciate his using the mute button, his cough button. Jimmy's come so far, y'all. He's come so far. We're so proud of him. Okay, there he goes again. All right, so that's
it's a little dusty from our activities.
Did you move into a haunted mansion?
It is now.
Right.
Just became one.
That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.